And we're live. Back again, folks. This is Did It Chip Literature. And we are going to talk about some Drawing of the Three. I'm super pumped about this episode. We just got done, obviously, with the Gunslinger. And we have lots to talk about. Joining us today on Literature is your standard crew of amazing folk, including... way from somewhere that I never know is...
The Captain. Today I'm recording from a very forlorn and creepy-looking beach. There's seagulls flying around and gigantic prawn spider things asking me questions. I don't understand their language, and I'm horrified.
Uh-oh.
And you should be, sir.
Should try to feed them. I bet the family... Yeah. They just want a little food.
I could just feed them by hand,
maybe.
right, Ben? Oh, God!
Yeah, just keep your palm open.
Yeah. By hand or by foot, you can feed them. We also have...
Yeah, Ben the Hitman for another episode.
Brett the Director.
All right. And again, we are on on the second book of the Dark Tower series, Drawing of the Three by Stephen King.
Yes.
We're pretty pumped. So... first things first, as we dive right into it, I will have to say, I don't know that it's that common to immediately handicap your main character in the first 5 seconds of the book.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, I was really
What an amazing start.
disappointed when I read that.
Yes, agreed, man.
I thought it was really cool. I remember when I switched over from the Gunslinger being completely lost the first time I read it, and then I switched over to this one. I was just like, dude, what the hell is happening? I could not believe I had no idea what was going on. I'm just like, is this even our main character? What's going on?
Dude, I absolutely loved it because it's like literally 8 hours after the end of the previous book.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
And Roland just passes out on the beach, like tired. He probably woke up, he's like, shit, I lost 10 years of my life. Walked a little bit, and he's like, fuck, I'm tired. Goes to bed. And then he wakes up to Did a Chick and Data Chum.
Oh, yeah.
Man, he just slept for 10 years. Why is he so tired?
Sleeping for 10
Dude, you ever
years
slept too
really
much?
makes you tired.
I know, man. You ever slept too much? You wake up and you're like, oh, man, I slept too much. I'm so tired because I slept way too much.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what happened to me. Rarely. And when I do it, when it does happen, I love it. But
On that rare occasion.
yes. But, so I actually loved it. It immediately put Roland in a situation, this entire book, where he was just straight up handicapped out of his mind. If he wasn't battling the fact that he's right-handed and he lost 2 fingers on his right hand and a big toe on his right foot,
Right.
his boot got fucked.
Yeah.
His clothes got screwed because he had to shred them all up to stop the bleeding. They not only that, they indicate that the lobstrosities have venom,
Yeah.
and
Poisonous, yeah.
he gets infected out of his mind.
Yeah. And not only that, but it also acts to bring a lot of tension to like all the scenes later.
Yes.
Like the every single time he goes into a mine wouldn't be as nerve-wracking if it wasn't for the fact that his body's left behind.
Right.
And those things are going to be coming.
Oh,
and
man.
even some of the people that he plays with use those as weapons against him.
Yes.
You know?
Dude, so much tension. Every time you're like, he even describes it. He goes into a mine, like, for example, when he goes in, as we will talk later about one of my favorite characters of the series, Eddie. He goes into Eddie. He's constantly looking behind, checking his limp, passed out body on the beach, like, what time is it?
Yeah.
Am I dead? What if I go back and I'm dead? I don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Has he really been there long enough to know they only come out at night, though? Dude,
Yeah.
I'd be scared. I'd be like, man.
He was, though, because he did walk multiple days in a row, figured out that they come out in the evenings, and he even killed one with a rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My memory serves me correctly,
Yeah.
and struggled with eating it.
He did not eat it.
He
Eddie
didn't
cooked
eat it yet.
He didn't eat it
that
until
was
Eddie
later.
fed it
That
to
was
him.
later.
Yeah.
Okay. Couldn't eat it just because he was worried about his own
Poison.
Yeah.
He
fingers
didn't know
and
how
his
to
own.
cook it, I guess. But yeah, the only time he was actually worried about the lobstosities when he went into the doorway was the first time.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of
sense.
rushed, and after that, he just dragged his body back and opened the door further down. And
So-
it was fine. But he had to worry about his body actually dying.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
that.
But Eddie actually also, I mean, specifically, well, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but
we'll
he
do it
uses
now.
it specifically as a, like, negotiating tactic.
Yes, he does.
Like, yeah, if you stay, you know that I'm just going to, like, feed you to the lobstrosities if you go in there. He like, uses it against him,
Yeah.
so... They're
So
really
does
cool.
Data, but
Yeah.
we'll get there too.
And I think that it's really awesome because if they just went through, or if Stephen King just did like a section where he talks about like, oh, these things seem dangerous, I don't think any of those scenes would have as much of an impact as seeing exactly what they can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, this was a
So-
really, really unique intro, and for on the greater whole, this entire book was really, really different in that the main character
Yeah.
was almost like an avatar the whole time, like
Yes.
taking the POV of other characters in the story who are actually active in doing things. And on the
Right.
surface, that could seem like an extremely boring story, but King does an amazing job, Brett, like you said, creating tension with the fact that his mortal body is still in peril while he's taking, the perspectives of other characters. And like
Right.
you guys were saying, they use it as a bargaining chip. So King finds amazing ways to basically have a crippled and dying main character tell you a full, exhilarating, tense story throughout.
Yes.
Yeah. I think one of those main tools that he uses is one that he's not crippled and dying while he's in their minds.
Right.
It seems to like he seems to like take on the health of the person that he's
Yep.
in almost.
Right.
Yep.
And two, the fact that he can actually interact with the world, bring things back, put things in, and even control the body if he wants to,
Yeah.
makes it
Yeah.
seem
Yeah.
much less passive, like he actually has a role in what's going
Right.
on.
Props to him too, being so analytical, precise character.
Mm-hmm.
He can basically override anyone.
Yeah.
He goes in, he could override him. Just
Yeah.
take him over. And then he doesn't a lot of times.
Yeah.
And he does sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's like a very conscious, careful, strategic decision. And we get a lot of Roland's personality in this.
Yeah.
He was really careful with Eddie.
Yes.
He just sat back and watched, and he had no idea what he was doing. He didn't
Felt
really
it
take control
all
till
out.
he fell asleep.
Yeah.
And then he tested
Wait
some
and
stuff out.
watch. It
Except
was-
for there was one point where he moved his eyes,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I forgot why, but
I think because he saw food or something
No,
like
it
that.
was the stewardess.
Oh yeah, he
Was it the
guided
stewardess?
Eddie's eyes to the suitor so that Eddie would see that they were noticing him, right?
yeah.
But I mean, either way, just really, really cool concept. And a lot of times you would hear a concept like this, you'd be like, I don't know that would work. But
Yeah.
in this book, it fucking worked.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I loved it, at least. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it too. I liked the whole book and how he executed it. I also thought it was interesting, unless I read this wrong, but I also think it's funny how he gets to the doors and it like literally says who the person is.
Yeah,
like a
that's
bullet.
nice.
It says...
Doesn't it say like the prisoner?
Yeah, it
yeah,
does.
it says the
the
prisoner,
lady of shadows.
The Lady in Shadows.
Right.
And
And
the pusher.
the pusher.
Which just seems so weird.
Ah,
like this,
that riddle was amazing.
like-
We'll get to that too, though. I loved
just,
it.
It just seems so weird.
So,
Like, what is this world?
I
that
know.
There's prophecies that obviously like are very ingrained in the physics of the universe.
Yeah.
and then also, I know all you guys won't necessarily get there, but there was a story that Roland tells, and this is for those of you Stephen King readers online, where Roland talks about two guys chasing a demon named Flag. Thomas and
Nicholas?
Nicholas chasing Flag, and he met them, and he said they were chasing a demon, but they were good enough folk, and he talks about them briefly, and I was just like, best cameo ever. Because
that? I don't even
they
recognize
are two characters from another book that Stephen King wrote called Eyes of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
And Flag, although Roland didn't know it though Thomas and Nicholas described Flag, Roland didn't realize that Flag is actually the Man in Black
Oh.
from another
Dun dun
book.
dun.
Badass.
That's crazy, man.
I thought it was amazing. So I loved that little shout out to the because as we know at the end of Eyes of the Dragon, those two go off on a little adventure.
They do? Dear God,
in
dude.
order to-
That scene where Flag is running up that enormous tower with the huge battle axe. He's like, I'm at step 48. I'm at step 49. I'm at step 50. Oh, my God. Too good. Too good.
So for those of you
That was
guys,
a little side rant on the Eyes of the Dragon.
yeah, side rant. So we will, obviously, because we're doing the Dark Tower, we will eventually do some of the connecting novels.
Right.
And for those of you who haven't read, obviously, our good old buddy, Walter O'Dim, makes appearances in many Stephen King book, and Eyes of the Dragon is one of them. And he gives a little shout out to our good buddies who decide to go on a vengeance quest after good old Flag.
Cool.
So anyway, not to get off on that sidebar, I loved it. Let's get to Roland.
And the prisoner.
This book and the prisoner, exactly. I love this because we read The Gunslinger and we get a sense of Roland, but we don't really get a sense of Roland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now in this book, we really get a sense of him. The way he thinks, the way he moves, the way and the reasoning behind it, and the way that he's both a good and bad guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the same
we
time.
get more reasoning because Roland is put in an unfamiliar, uncomfortable, foreign environment. So we get way, way more of his thought process and his calculations. Whereas in the first book, everything he was doing was almost automatic because he's so used to the world that he's in.
Walk,
I also have to
eat, shoot, eat, camp, sleep, eat, kill.
He couldn't waste a second.
Auto.
He constantly had to keep up with him. He was just an
his
auto
thoughts
mode.
were even that way. And go ahead,
But I was,
director.
what was I going to say? I was going to say, oh man, I forgot.
I'm sorry, I ruined it.
Sorry, director.
And we'll come back to the director. We'll get to it. It's my bad. But I really love that aspect. And then we meet, obviously, in the end of The Gunslinger with the prophecy, we know he's going to draw 3.
Right.
And the first of the 3, which happens to be literally a door hanging in the middle of nowhere. A door that when you pass it, you can't see it, but you see the shadow.
Right.
But just really cool. It says the prisoner on it.
The prisoner.
And I love
I love the moments when he keeps referring to him as the prisoner. Why do you keep calling me that?
Why do you keep calling me that, bub?
Listen to me, prisoner. It's like, why do you keep calling me that?
You're still a prisoner.
He's still a prisoner
Eddie.
until he can prove that he can walk up out of his own cell, is Roland's exact words.
Yes. Eddie is by far, I think throughout the series, my favorite character.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I definitely like him so far. In book 2.
Yeah, I don't know why exactly, but he is. I love all the characters, actually. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to say favorite by a lot.
Eddie's had a pretty rough ride, and he's kind of living on the fringe. He could really easily go one way or the other in that he could continue living and perpetuating his existence, or he could just as easily die and be completely forgotten. So there's a sense,
needs a nudge.
There's a sense of vulnerability, and in the face of all of that vulnerability, Eddie takes his situation with an amazing amount of charisma and confidence that he may not necessarily deserve, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty accepting of his situation.
He is.
He's pushing that road. It's like, all right, I guess I have no choice. I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Get this goddamn coke off me. Cutting him off. No, but the crazy thing is, I love the way that Roland goes into him and immediately sees out the window and then freaks out.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't realize, and then slowly
he gets
readjusts.
vertigo.
Yeah. Slowly readjusts to the fact that he realizes he's in a plane, but then you get, not only do you get a sense of
Or what
Eddie.
do you call it, a flying chariot?
Yes.
Flying chariot.
I love, just as a quick side note, Demon, I love all of the adorable, linguistic errors that Roland makes just because his world is so different. He's like, those stewardesses, those army ladies in the strange outfits seem to be looking at the prisoner very menacingly. Like, all of his language for the whole modern world is so awesome.
This book makes me wish that it was actually called Tunerfish.
Tunerfish.
Another one.
It's
Tunerfish.
delicious. This tunerfish.
This Tunerfish.
Why would you do any other drugs when you have sugar?
I was actually really surprised you liked Pepsi so much.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. I would have thought that would have been like way too sweet. It's like, what is this? Just pure
Well,
sugar?
remember, in
Well, it's
his
also back in
world,
the
they
70s
have
or
sugar.
whatever.
Yeah, in their world, they have sugar, but
yeah.
like, it's a rarity. It's like a very sweet treat, the way it should be.
Yeah.
It is. The thing is, like,
Yeah.
that's why I'm so surprised he
liked
likes
it.
it so much. 'Cause,
Well,
like,
remember, he was like totally, like, fevering out of his
Emaciated.
mind and starving.
Yeah, starvation is the best seasoning.
Yeah.
well, yeah. He didn't like the hot dogs, though.
Oh, that's true.
That's true.
That's true. He liked it's
'cause he
Well,
liked
they
the
were
Tudor
dog.
sandwiches much better.
He's like, oh, dog.
Yeah,
Whatever.
dog.
He literally thought it was a
You
dog.
idiot. It's not dog, it's bone and cartilage.
That's so much better.
To this point, and we obviously won't be quoting a ton of things from this book because they're
Some gems.
hilariously racist and hilarious. But
Oh, that's hilarious,
yes,
too.
it is in this
In
context.
the context of the book.
In the context of the book, it
the
was
way that
amazing.
he presents it, like, somehow is, like,
Perfect.
endearing.
I
Almost, it's, like,
absolutely,
funny.
my favorite quote in the entire thing, and I could not. I was laughing out loud in the middle of the night
Loud.
after out loud when I was audiobooking this. Is when Roland looks at Eddie and he's like, "She thinks we're a strange species, honky muffas."
It's the first time he mispronounced something that wasn't his fault.
I know, it was phenomenal. I just loved
That
it.
was awesome.
I love when he describes her. It's like she's not even a black person. It's like she's a character, a character of
cartoon.
or a cartoon black person or something like that. And it's just so funny the way that he describes it.
Because he has no context for our world,
Right.
And the and obviously it's really cool because King does a crazy job of making it very evident that you're dealing with different times,
Yeah.
Right.
in our own world. So you've got Eddie from the '80s,
Yeah.
You've got Odetta
And
from
Detta.
the civil rights movement,
Yeah.
and you're talking in. It's funny because he talks about the chasm of time
Yeah.
when Eddie's like, "Oh, you know, black people. How are you going to refer to me as black?"
Oh,
and
right,
then,
right.
And then Eddie can't call Odetta what she's used to being called because it's the context of
become-
society is so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Become
it's
like an improper.
it was just a really cool little tidbit. It was not a big focal point, but I loved that it was just a
detail,
little
yeah.
side detail.
Yeah.
Which again reminds us how Stephen King is kind of absorbing the world
Yeah.
around him through time and remembering that.
Yeah.
And kind of keeping it in this little pocket, which will eventually come out in writing. So pretty sweet.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Eddie?
Eddie, I love Eddie. I'm assuming, especially since you said he's one of your favorite characters, that he does a lot of growing throughout the books. But I thought it was even in this book, he seems to already be doing a lot of growing.
Big
He
time.
develops as a character even in one book, and we have 5 more books or something like that.
Big time.
Yeah.
And even when he was at his worst, at the very beginning when we meet him, when he's a junkie, I already loved him.
Yeah.
He was
Junkie who
already
is-
interesting.
By point, smuggling cocaine
Right.
in order to get heroin.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a junkie with balls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And not much to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
It's easy to have balls when you have nothing to lose.
It's true. Roland automatically thinks that Eddie is more aware of his surroundings than even the normal people in the world when he goes in Eddie's mind.
does.
But also sees, like any good teacher would, a lot of weaknesses in
Right.
what
Right.
Eddie's noticing.
Right. Yeah, he immediately identifies Eddie Dean as a survivor. whereas everyone else around him is less observant, more complacent. So Eddie does have some of that raw, fundamental fight that's needed for this future quest, even though he's got a lot of work and suffering ahead of him.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really interesting thing that Stephen King drew on, whether it's on purpose or not. I would assume it's on purpose. It's just the idea of the type of person that you're dealing with. Like, if you're in a kind of like squishy, like convenient existence, you're going to let the things that, you know, kind of like led to your evolution kind of dwindle. You know, you're going to become less strong mentally, physically, whatever.
Right.
And like, it's cool that he made this character who seems like he's going to have to become a gunslinger as well. It's cool that he made him a junkie, because obviously he would be in a very hostile world.
Yeah.
He's going to be living a hostile existence. He's still going to have that wits about him, and he's going to be looking at all the angles and stuff.
But not all of them,
Yeah.
as Roland tries to teach him about 8 times through the book.
Yeah,
Wow,
but I think that just shows, though, that obviously Roland has been brought up in an even more hostile.
Yes.
He's so much more attuned than anybody else in probably our world could be, because what he's been through is probably nothing compared to almost anything in our world.
Yeah, it's so weird because they describe it a lot in the book, how one for Eddie has more observant. When he's like, oh, I see those 2 guys tailing me.
Yeah.
He's like, no, those 5.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And then like throughout the book, when he like draws on people,
Yep.
it's like it's so quick they can't even comprehend it.
Yeah.
It's just like a spring loaded,
Yeah.
ready for action.
The other thing is how he purposefully lets Eddie take some licks.
Yeah.
In order to, like, he's kind of becoming, it's funny, he keeps comparing himself to, I am the new Court.
Yeah.
The new Court. And he obviously we remember Court from The Gunslinger. And we get a little taste of that, but we clearly didn't get the full taste of it. Because you see now, because it's really cool, because Roland views himself as a secret romantic.
Yeah.
So kind of like a secret, he keeps it inside. He doesn't let it show outside, but he's kind of secretly this romantic.
I think he makes a tail of a court. I think he's like, I think it would just be too soft to do what he has to do.
he's too soft.
Like,
Well,
this
he let
really-
Eddie get his ass handed
Yeah,
to
I don't
him.
know.
I
I don't know.
I think he is too soft to like train if he had to be in Court's position to do what he.
Or maybe he'll do a better job not making robots.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
making
Gunslingers.
gunslingers.
That's a good point.
I mean,
Because-
one thing I've definitely noticed through like teaching martial arts is that like if you're like all strict, sometimes you can break people. You know, like I feel like Roland actually could make a better Court, because I feel like he isn't
adaptable.
quite as tough. But I feel like he has what it takes to be tough on the people that can take it.
Yeah.
I think he's better at adjusting his level for his student,
Yeah.
whereas Court is just like, I'm just gonna beat you till you break or
Yeah.
succeed.
The thing is, like, I think in their world, that's how it has to be.
Yeah.
Like, they need to either break them in training, because if they go out in the world and break, it'll be terrible.
Yeah.
So they have to either gonna not break and be successful,
Yeah.
or they're gonna break then, and that's better. They can do something else.
I'm not
Right.
saying there's not an argument for that in their world, but my argument is all coaching, all teaching should be an individual basis.
Yeah.
So
You
it's
have to
interesting.
adjust to the level.
Yeah.
I think that Roland, because people are so unique, but at the same time, their world may have an argument for that.
But
I
it was
mean,
interesting.
it's not all. I'm not saying this.
It's not our
Right,
world.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're saying
Yeah.
You're saying in their
Court's
world.
situation.
In
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
The,
He's training
the world's
gunslingers.
dying.
Yeah.
You
It's
might-
not a
exactly.
lot. They need the best of the best. And
Right.
if they go break someone, that's fine, because he's gonna save 100 people.
Exactly.
And
And,
tell
that's
me-
why I'm not gonna challenge
Hey,
it outright.
And tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know if I don't know if I'm remembering this incorrectly, or if I made some jumps and conclusions. But was Court specifically training gunslingers that were meant to go pursue the tower?
Well,
Have they said that
they're
yet?
not. Yeah, so
No.
they've
They hinted
alluded
at it.
they've
Did they?
alluded to it, but only because of this. So they've alluded to the fact that the remaining gunslingers were tasked with a quest. But they weren't. It's not like gunslingers are supposed to go pursue the tower.
Oh, okay.
It's that the world's failing and they lost, and their last hope is to pursue the tower.
Gotcha.
That's what they alluded at.
I must
So they
have
weren't
missed that.
clear at it. They weren't clear. They didn't say like gunslingers go to the tower, but they basically were clear on the fact that the gunslingers lost. Not all gunslingers, but I guess the world died.
The world is already
moved
fighting
on.
a losing battle, and this
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
a
So-
last ditch gambit that they have in their back pocket.
And apparently they got some word. It's very abstract right now. They got some word that it's more than just this. It's deeper. It's a deeper issue. There's something bigger going on, and it has to do with the tower.
Right.
And that's it.
I mean, Roland definitely seems to think anyway that the tower is literally going to affect everything.
Right.
So that's
what
why he
thinks.
feels completely moral in sacrificing whatever,
Right.
in doing whatever he needs to do. That's the way he's justifying his obsession, is
Exactly.
because it's everything. It doesn't matter if I sacrifice you, because you're going to die anyway if I don't do this.
And by the way, Eddie multiple times compares his addiction to heroin with Roland's addiction to the
Yes.
tower.
Yes.
Now, also, we don't have any hard facts on this. It's just we know what Roland says about it, or hints at it, and we know that it's critical. That's it.
Yeah.
We don't know much else. We do know, we learn that it's the pillar or the joining point of all worlds.
Right.
Yeah.
In this book, they describe that.
Right.
There is something that I have to say about that comparison, though, as I'm not sure how equatable that those two things are. Because one, it seems like Roland's doing it because of a sense of the greater good, whereas a heroin junkie does it for them,
Just to get
you know,
by.
because they're in pain or whatever it is. They're sick. They don't want to feel the way that they do. They want to escape, whatever. It seems like he's making sacrifices to do this, even though he's obsessed with it. I think he's obsessed with it because he thinks this is every universe is at stake, you know. And the other thing is usually junkies often lie about their addiction. Roland's like straight up. He's like, I'm going after the tower. I will sacrifice you, but it's going to be a ride. You want to come?
Yeah, that's very
was gonna
true.
say-
I was just going to say, if you want to point out because we're talking about the relationship between Roland and Eddie right now, what if you take shift the perspective a little bit and look at Roland's allies? So you compare Eddie Dean with Roland's last ally, Jake. It's an interesting comparison because Jake kind of slowly figured out over time, and it seemed to be a very subconscious thing that Jake came to the realization that Roland is gonna do anything he can to get the tower, including sacrificing Jake. And you compare that to Eddie, who kind of almost immediately knows not to trust Roland, and right away, like the second he gets into that world, he's like, "You're gonna kill me, aren't you, Roland? Like, you're gonna do anything you can to get that tower." Like, Eddie figures it out really, really quickly. Like,
Right.
just the comparison.
He's a survivor.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing that from that and what Brett said, that his quest for the tower was he was talking about it, that it's turning him into a beast, and when he gets to the tower, if he's not human, he'll still lose.
What's the point?
He'll still lose because
Yeah.
he'll like end up like killing humanity instead of saving it.
Yeah.
Right.
It turned him, his quest, his cold-heartedness, just off and off his allies.
Right. If he basically becomes just like the Man in Black, even if he stops him, he'll probably just continue doing what he was going to
Right.
He was going to lose in the end. Yeah.
That harks to
And
the
the-
whole "is it the journey or the destination" argument.
Bringing it back to our good old Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go, Benji.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. That's an amazing universal trope that great writers can tap into.
Yeah, personally, the other thing that I really love is that maybe Roland, he might have grown a little from the guilt that comes from the
I think
fact
it really
that
helped
he
him.
sacrificed
Yeah.
Jake. Because he responded differently. Like with Jake, he loved him right away. He even openly admits that in the book. And he loved him, but he knew that he would sacrifice him. And with Eddie, he was way more straightforward.
Yeah.
There was no lie. He just was like, he already,
I need you.
I need you.
And I'll kill you if I have to.
Yeah, exactly. It was done. Like it's almost like Jake, it really hurt him.
I think
it
also
did a
part
lot.
of it was maybe because before he killed Jake, like before you do something you don't
let
know.
him-
Let him die.
Didn't save him.
Didn't save him. But before you do something, you don't truly know. You may think you know, but you don't truly know how you'd react in a situation until you've lived through it.
Yeah.
You like to think that you know, but you're not sure.
Yeah.
So he could probably use that as justification to be like, well, later on, if he never let Jake die, maybe he would have lied to
Eddie.
Eddie and stuff like
Eddie.
that. But because now he knows the answer, it's almost as if his moral compass makes him tell him.
Stronger.
Because he knows the answer now. He's like, I definitely will let people I love
Die.
go.
Yeah. It's really interesting because it comes to that question, journey or destination, and it's like, man,
And also, do the ends justify the means?
yes.
Both of those questions are heavily influenced by that theme.
And we get a little hint at some crazy shit when we get to the pusher. But before we get there, Eddie's story, awesome. First of all, his growth, his adaptation to Roland, his acceptance of reality, probably because he's been high a lot.
Makes it
And then
easier.
seeing another world was like, whoa. But then also gunfighting naked. I wanted to kill him. I don't know about you guys, but I wanted to kill him after they chopped off his brother's head and chucked it, and he goes insane, and they're all fighting, and Roland basically saves his ass a few times.
Yeah.
And then he's just like unloading,
Clicking the
Clicking an empty
and then
gun.
unloading, and then dry firing Roland's gun into that guy, and then he just hits Roland, who's like so sick after he saved him all that many times. I was just like, "Ah, motherfucker! Somebody elbow this bastard!" Oh my god! But Roland didn't even get angry about it. He just gets up and he's like, I should have known better.
I think Roland was just like, hey, he's no court.
The sting isn't as bad as Court's.
It's like, wow, this is the nicest idiot I've ever met.
I don't know, I thought I was super impressed with him because from the way he saw everyone in that world, they're so soft
Yeah.
and so weak, not willing to go that distance. Mm-hmm. But then the prisoner, he's fighting naked and no concern for his health. He's just shooting down.
Yeah, that was an amazing
wow, it was
standoff,
super.
man. Amazing.
And
Yeah.
I always love the descriptions of when people see Roland. It's just like
Yes.
a ghost. Like a super
Gaunt eyes
Gaunt.
that just are
but
crazy.
Still, they're like, "Fuck, this guy's gonna fuck me up." And then he does.
Yeah, he always does.
He's always described as a haggard, dazed old man who's just as dangerous as he seems.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually love it because the best little thing on with the flight attendant, she's like, "Oh, I really like his green eyes, and sometimes they're blue and they look crazy." It's like, oh my god, I need a sandwich.
Dude, it's funny how how
Popkins,
modern
please.
it's funny
Kids.
how modern training videos would be for flight stewardesses, because in the book she was saying all right, my plan is to throw a boiling hot thermos full of liquid into the terrorist space to prevent the plane from being hijacked. And I'm wondering if most airlines would be like, that is not a good idea, do not do that.
Yeah. Do not do that.
Do not attempt that.
Please don't. Yeah.
I also have to say that I loved in the beginning Stephen King's statement in the book. He's like, and if you live in New York, forgive me for my artistic license with the streets of New York. Oh, we're going to New York, motherfuckers! That's the beginning of the book. Like, yes. No, man.
Eddie's awesome.
Really, really awesome.
And the gunfight was even more amazing because Eddie was completely naked and Roland was basically naked as well, because his shirt was basically a neck thing with ribbons, and his everything else was torn away. So it's two nude dudes shooting up a whole room full of crazy gangsters.
Dude.
That's pretty crazy.
Also, Eddie goes into the room naked for that reason. And then he comes out of the room with Roland there. And the other guy's dead. R.I.P. because that is a shitty way to die.
Being devoured by lobstrosities.
Alive by lobstrosities. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was rough.
Eddie, I kind of get a little satisfaction thinking that I might be eating one of them that ate him.
And then he gets even more satisfaction because the gunslinger's like, one of those lobstrosities ate my fingers and toe. And then he's like, yes, I'm even more into this now.
Yes. Oh, man.
But man, the one thing that bothered me, but they did rectify it later, was when he was with Eddie and they finished that scene, the shootout, he closed the door. I was like, don't do that. Leave it open. Go in and get more guns, more ammo.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Ben. That thought crossed my mind.
Why are you doing that?
Right.
They closed themselves.
But they rectified it later. I was like...
I mean, they did that because
ammo.
It was like Balazar was like still trying to get in.
He's
wasn't
dead.
he?
Well, the cops.
That's right.
The cops were right about to break down.
I just think he might have been worried that if Eddie left with him, would the door be visible?
Yeah.
I think that's why.
And
so
also,
would
Eddie grab a shitload of cocaine and then be absolutely useless to him?
That's the other thing.
That's later,
Roland, I remember he specifically shut it and said, "You aren't going back in. You're done with that. You're done."
That part of your.
But then
at
the same time, man. Yeah, I was a bit nervous too because guns, ammo, medication, food. Oh my God!
You could have took some of those guns.
Just laying on the ground there.
Yeah, man. That's true.
Maybe they don't have a few shots, but a few shots.
That's true.
It feels like there's something about a gunslinger's guns that are sacred, though. I guess Eddie could have had some guns.
They are sacred.
Yeah,
that is a fact.
It's almost like he doesn't want to use anybody else's guns.
You know, he's related to the line of Eld. You know what that is?
King Arthur.
Yes, it's King Arthur.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up in the first book. They hinted at it twice.
Yeah.
That he was from the line of King of Kings.
King of Kings.
And he's like, oh, King Arthur, you know him? Yes, I was young then.
Yeah. So there's a lot of Arthurian legend in these books. And Roland himself is direct lineage from King Arthur.
Oh, cool.
Damn.
And his guns are made
King
out
Arthur's
of
guns.
Excalibur.
Oh my gosh.
What?
That's the rumor, boys.
So that's the gun he pulled out of the stone.
King Arthur pulled an Uzi out of the
King Arthur stone.
I wonder,
is
that
gun in one hand, Excalibur in the other hand?
Is that Chaucer canon, Jeff?
What's up?
Is that canon in Chaucer's Arthurian legends?
No,
why he won the war?
Yeah, that's I don't know that that's true or not, but that's highly hinted at.
That's awesome.
And the Arthurian legends, gonna, especially if you know them, you've already Ben already picked up a ton. They have more in Gunslinger alone.
I didn't see any in the second book. I don't know if I missed them.
His sacred guns. We'll find a lot, but one of the things that Stephen King hiddenly loved was the Arthurian legends.
Who doesn't love it?
Yeah, who doesn't love it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great stuff.
So keep your eyes peeled, folks.
Let me just add one more thing about the gunfight scene, because I think we're wrapping that up. But the lead into the gunfight scene was like the pinnacle of the book to me, because I felt like, oh my God, there's so much of this book left, but this feels like a final showdown right now with Eddie.
Yes.
And I'm like, Eddie's probably gonna die at the end of this chapter, but it seemed like everything was going so perfectly. And, in my mind, it's like, man, Eddie could, totally go into the bathroom, pull out his cocaine, be like, all right, you're going to, me and my brother are going to amscree, and then you'll get the rest of your cocaine. I'm like, yes, everything's going to come true for Eddie and Roland both. Everyone's going to be satisfied. And as it was leading up to that, I'm like, dude, something is going to go wrong. There's no way this deal's going to go down straight. And then, the moment that Eddie's brother dies, I was like, oh, fuck. This is the start of it. This is when shit starts hitting the fan.
Dude, it's amazing that you say that because the fact is that they had a trick and everything could have been fine.
It could have been fine.
It could have. They could have come out of the bathroom with all of the coke. Yeah. And Eddie could have walked away with all his heroin, but Roland would not be satisfied with that.
No.
Shit needed to happen because Eddie needed Eddie. He needed to draw Eddie.
Now, even though Roland had, as far as I know, nothing to do with it, I don't know if Eddie would have went if his brother wasn't killed. And that was just kind of like not a happy coincidence, but a happy coincidence for Roland.
Funny thing is, his brother was decapitated, but he was not killed. He died.
I was actually kind of surprised he OD'd on it.
Yeah.
Like, as a normal heroin user, that he OD'd on a dose, let's say.
I think that they were, and this is the feeling that I got, they were implying that he was jacked out of his mind already, and still. And then they shot him up again.
And that was too much.
And it was probably too much.
Right.
Then again, you're probably a ticking time bomb at that point.
It also kind of seemed like regardless of the outcome, Balazar was going to kill both of the Dean brothers anyway. But just because of Eddie's brashness and, basically he went in there like he was owning the place and like he had all the answers and that he was better than Balazar. So it kind of, there were undertones. It's like, man, there's just no way that this deal's going to go down correctly.
Yeah.
Funny how Balazar also likes to build card towers. And also Roland's like straight up orgasm when he saw the
the tower,
the sign.
Yeah.
The tower. The audiobook was amazing, folks.
Oh, dude, the audiobook is so good.
It was amazing.
I want to say this.
Oh my gosh.
This narrator is... Not that the other one was bad, but he's like so intense, this narrator. I really like him.
Cool. Little shout out to the
Mine's
narrators.
The same,
I love both the narrators.
I like them both, yeah.
And I will tell you that the narrator of Drawing of the Three, Wastelands, and Wizarding Glass was the original narrator, and he originally did Gunslinger. And when they revised Gunslinger, they obviously did a revised audiobook, but he unfortunately had passed away in a motorcycle accident.
Oh.
He was good friends with Stephen King, and Stephen King donated all of the profits of Wizarding Glass to his family fund. And so, unfortunately, when they revised the Gunslinger with the extended modified version, they went back with the new selected audio guy, who's also very good, but different. You get a different vibe from both of them. It's funny because the first time I audiobooked was before the revised version came out, and I actually audiobooked Frank's version of the Gunslinger. And then when I got to book 5, the Wolves of the Kala, I was really confused because I was like, why would we change narrators?
Yeah,
right.
I got so used to this portrayal.
Yeah.
But now that I've gone back and audiobooked them again, as we're doing it now, I really do appreciate both Frank's original material and the new narrator, which we'll have after Wizarding Glass.
I was really like, it was like so intense and like always like it's like a fast-paced narration, like a couple of the books feeling. I thought
it's
really good.
I audiobook it 2 times speed, so it's always fast paced.
I'm 1.25 or 1.5, but I generally prefer in this it's so good to listen to their performance in these books. So.
The narrator's accent for this book for Eddie was particularly awesome, as well as the accents for the Lady of Shadows, as well as her Odella's butler, Andrew, the Irish limousine driver.
The Irish,
all 3 of those
Irish
were
limousine.
on point awesome.
So good. So good.
Yeah.
So Eddie, obviously I love it. By the way, obviously it didn't come to fruition, but when they were filming or originally trying to get the film made, they had Leonardo DiCaprio who wanted to play Eddie.
Really?
Oh,
And
damn. That would be
would've been
awesome.
But now they're not doing that, and that's cool. But I hear lots of rumors that our Breaking Bad friend Aaron Paul might
He would be
have
also
a lot of
amazing fit
interest
for
on
that.
Eddie.
Nice.
And I'm super pumped about that too.
I love Aaron Paul, so that'd be dope.
So anyway, excuse me, I'm choking on air, I guess. But anyway, we're not going to talk about the movies yet, but we are really pumped that Amazon bought the rights out and are going to make the show as a revival chance or redo chance.
Hopefully it gets another chance
redo chance
to actually be the book.
By the way, I love
Or not
Idris
the book,
Elba,
but to actually
Matthew
be the story.
McConaughey. I just I think that they had the wrong approach to that.
For sure.
Yeah, but we'll talk about it in another episode. So,
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
let's move on to another phenomenal character.
Do you have time?
I don't know. We might.
We're
need to
at
do
45.
another
It's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Let's take a quick break.
I think we should take a
And
break. Yeah.
Cool.
folks online, you have our thoughts on Eddie, and you will hear us again on another part episode
Part 2.
on Odetta and Detta.
Detta and Odetta.
Holmes
and Susanna.
Walker.
Hey, this is Eddie Dean signing off. Hey, if anyone's got some junk, contact me after the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And cheers, guys. Oh, shit.
Cheers.
Never mind. Just me. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Lit Literature. If you liked us, please check out our social media at Lit Literature 1 at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't hesitate to join in on the conversation. We appreciate the conversation, the questions, book recommendations, anything of that sort. Join in right on the social media websites. And don't forget to check us out at our website, litliterature.com, and our upcoming projects, though there aren't many now besides Lit Literature, you can find at lyket.net, Lyket. We do have a Patreon account, but if you truly want to support us, please like and share. Cheers.